All right, welcome to Awesome Streaming, the comic book shop of doom, awesomestreaming.com. This is a review of Charles Band's book. I got this today. I bought this back in July. I pre-ordered it when he had a deal where he was giving away like 60 bucks worth of merchandise to buy this book, which is like $27. It was like 24.99 on Amazon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, is it worth it or not? Yeah, it's good. If you're a fan of his, it's a good book. If you don't want to hear spoilers, get out of this now, because I don't want to ruin it for you if you haven't read this book. So get out of this video now if you don't want to hear the spoilers. Now, I've followed him for a long, long time. And I remember the Empire Pictures in the 80s. I went and I saw Metal Storm at the movie theater with my dad. And I remember reading about him in Fangora magazine. In the 80s, it covered Empire a lot. So you really knew about this guy back then if you followed Fangora. You put a picture to the face, you know. And this book is good, and it's very sad at the end. I mean, there's a lot of bad things in his life, and I mean, I feel sorry for him. I really do. The last thing that happened was his son died this year. So I remember that, or it was last year or something, like the end of last year. His third child passed away from a drug addiction, you know, and that's, oh, you know, anytime you lose a child, that's bad, you know. So, I mean, you know, it's bad. And then the other thing this guy has done, I think he has a really good attitude, because he's made and he's lost fortunes a couple of times. Like, he made money with the Ghoulies movie, and that fueled Empire Pictures. He bought the Dino De Laurentiis studio. He bought a castle in Italy. He lost all that. His friend turned on him and ran the company for Credit Lyonnais, the bank. And I got an interesting side story about this. It was back when he was doing the first full moon road shows. He came to Chicago, Governor State University. They have like an auditorium, like it looks like a stage, like where they have plays and stuff, and you could rent this building, right? So I looked it up. It's like $5,000 to rent that building for one day, for the night. So he couldn't have made a lot of money because there wasn't a lot of people there. But after he did his show, and then he went around and he was autographing videos and stuff, and whatever you brought in, your merch to have him sign. I remember when I went up to him, I asked him, you know, have you ever thought about writing a book? And he was like, he laughed, and then he called over Stuart Gordon, the director of Reanimator and From Beyond, and he goes, "Hey, Stu, this guy over here wants me to write a book." And Stuart Gordon laughs and says the chapter on the Credit Lyonnais bank would be worth it alone. And that chapter did have some stuff in there that I never heard before, but I don't think he went into detail about it. Where he talks about Franz Hoffman, the guy that ran the Credit Lyonnais bank. He basically said he had to bribe the guy to get a credit, you know, get loans and credit, a credit line. And it's no known secret that Cannon was doing it, and probably everybody else in Hollywood. Carol Co., Hemdale, Freeze Entertainment, Castle Rock, all these companies were getting their money through Credit Lyonnais. So who else was bribing this guy to get money? And I mean, I'll give him that. He's honest about it. He said he did it. And he said that's how Europe runs, is a lot of bribes usually, you know. You got to grease the wheels, which they do it here too, so this isn't a shock. But you know, this guy's lost several fortunes. He lost a kid. He's been married twice, divorced. Now he's got a longtime girlfriend who's an actress. Knew all that. The underground club he had in Rome when he was a teenager, that was an interesting chapter. I never knew about that. That was really good. He turned the castle into a restaurant for a while. That was interesting. Never heard about that. He's plugging the Primevals movie. He says it's going to come out in 2022, so we'll wait and see on that one. That's been long overdue. And he's like 68 years old, so you wonder how he's doing with his health. And now it seems like he even said that the streaming is kind of it's balanced the company out where he's making a steady income now, and he's able to do movies again. Well, I hope he does like 2 micro budget movies a month. That'd be nice, for the streaming service. Just add 2 new movies a month, and then with the library. But like his ex-wife said that Franz Hoffman, she called him a nasty fat German. And I never heard that before, and there's a movie on Franz Hoffman called Hollywood Banker. You can find that out there, the DVD, and it's on Amazon. I'd like to see more of this, there's a lot of stuff he glossed over with the Credit Lyonnaise Bank. Like all of a sudden they call him in for a meeting, and it's Ed Sarlouis, who was one of the partners in Trans World Entertainment, and they took over Empire. And I remember reading that in Cinefantastique, and I was like, why did Trans World take over Empire? Well, here it's in the bank put him up to it. And they said he was $26 million in debt. So $20 million of that was the studio. So, if he didn't buy the studio, that was the main core source of a lot of money. The Dino De Laurentiis studio in Italy he bought. And in there it says that he had to go talk to Dino about buying it, because Dino still controlled it even into the 80s. And Dino kept asking him, do you make enough money to pay this? He says he asked him like 2 or 3 times. So I think Dino De Laurentiis kind of knew that this guy didn't have the money to buy that studio, but he wanted it, and he got overextended with it. But that was an ominous warning, like Dino kept asking him, do you have the money to pay for this? I thought that was really interesting. So Dino, master of the foreign sales, he probably knew how much money this guy makes, or probably makes with his B movies, and came to the conclusion he doesn't have enough to pay for the company, to pay for that studio. But overall, it's a really good book. I would have liked to have seen more of his criticism on the other film companies at the time. And then he really doesn't gloss over the loss of the video revenue. And from the 2000s on, he talks about having a tough time until he started up the streaming. But with no video stores, that really ate up his income, and he was selling off stuff to pay for. He was paying for 2 ex-wives, his parents, his kids, sending his kids to school. So I get it. And I'm really, he's got a good attitude about all this when he had a lot of bad things going on. So, but, it's a good book. I really recommend it if you're a fan of his, because it gives you new insight into the guy. And, like when we were at that road show, he talked about his divorce. And he did this when he was autographing stuff. And he said something like, well, I didn't want to get a divorce. My wife did. This was the second wife. And I thought that was really telling, You're like, okay, she wanted a divorce. He didn't. And he doesn't bring that up in the book. So obviously he's covering for his ex-wife. He doesn't want to make her look like the bad guy. But, it's a good read, and I read it in one day. So it's like 270 some pages. You can get through it in one day if you really concentrate. But check it out. You get it off Amazon. It's probably going to be on eBay. Probably links on his sites, where to get it at. Everybody have a good day.